Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. This is Inside the Coverage, the Week 9 edition. As always, joined in by EA Edgar Allen from his YouTube channel. We're looking at our third straight solid defensive performance. Having said all that, him and I do have some reservations a little bit about some of the technical things we're seeing. First thing we'll do here, however, is I think what's first and foremost on most Ravens fans' minds is just discuss the acquisitions at the trade deadline, or maybe I should say lack thereof, right?
Mm-hmm.
All on the defensive side, which really shouldn't be surprising for us at this point. Carl Lawson signed last week. Draymond Jones, who I actually like as a player, to be honest with you, he looks very athletic and sleek this year in 2025. And then previously we had essentially swapped Odafe Owe for Alohi Gilman. Do you share my frustration level? I would say 5 out of 10 for me, in the fact that the only thing we addressed at all near the trade deadline was defense. And that shouldn't be surprising, really, at this point.
Yeah. Almost seems like it's never enough. It's defense seems to rule the day in terms of the thought process in Owings Mills. Always. It never seems to change. We were talking earlier about the idea that it wouldn't be beyond thought to see a team other than the Ravens bring in a fourth round pick, trade for a receiver that they don't necessarily need, quote unquote. The Ravens would never do that.
Yeah, right. That's like the seventh dimension, beyond our level of thinking. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and I think in some respects it goes back to something you said a month or so ago on your channel. There seems to be this blockage with the coach or with the staff in terms of the offensive line, which is the most obvious offensive need, where it seems like, and we're just speculating, there's this idea that they would feel that they were made to look wrong. That's what it seems like. There's an element of pride, someone's pride at stake. And I'm just speculating. I don't know that.
Yeah,
but they're going to stick with what they've got on that offensive line.
Absolutely. I don't get the sense from listening to Todd Monken talk that he's a guy who isn't willing to self-evaluate and be critical, at least from public statements. And I could be wrong. People that are listening here, first of all, thank you for joining. There is a little bit of a setup here before we get to the plays, but we're going to show, I think, 6 coverage snaps from the game against the Dolphins, as well as one from a different game, and actually a different team, to kind of use it to explain something. But yeah, in the Ravens Discord, there's like, I think we have 94 people in there at this point, so the conversation's like 24/7. There's people on the East Coast, people on the West Coast, there's people in Europe, and so it's just the timing it never stops. So I wake up in the morning and I'm like, well, there's 54 messages here. What happened? And people are just discussing, hey, there's no chance we're going to go out and get an offensive lineman. Regardless of what people think about the quality of the O-line, it is clearly our relative weakness. Compared to, our other positions, it's absolutely our relative weakness on the offensive side. And so we would probably address inside linebacker or corner before we addressed that offensive line. That's just, they're stuck on it. They're wrong, in my opinion. But they'll look right probably for 5 or 6 or 7 weeks. But I caution Ravens fans to assume that we're going to go in there and blow this Vikings defense off the map. That is not the group that is going to be showing up to greet us on Sunday in Week 10. They're a tough, very proud team, and they showed that against the Lions last week. So we normally try to focus on the defense here, and we will. To preface some of the plays that we'll show, we recognize the fact that in the last 3 games, Baltimore's only allowed 39 points. And that's fantastic. You would take that in over any 3-game stretch, right? And you're going to win the majority of your games. Dolphins are not a good football team, we know. Perhaps, people would say the Bears weren't, but as every week passes, that win over the Bears looks a little bit better. They've now won, I think, 5 football games. But we, at the end, after we've explored the plays, we are going to provide some evidence that what Zach Orr and his side are doing statistically is of a high quality, is one that we would accept from our defense over a season-long observation. Unfortunately, we just didn't get that, to start the year at all. Did you want to start us off with the play where Roquan nearly gets an interception?
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of what I pulled from this game in terms of coverages and things shows a lot of similarity to things we saw earlier in the year. Just guys out of position, not sure of the call. Perhaps we'll see that, in some of the plays I've pulled. But you can see right on the screen here, 2x2 set with 12 pointing, and Kyle
Gilman.
Hamilton with his arms in the air. There's certainly indecision about what assignment he has or they have here, or what the call is even. And it's not uncommon in this game. I see this a lot. This sort of, I almost feel like there's too much communication, too many guys pointing instead of, just Roquan and Kyle. But
let it run a little bit, so where we see Marlon just kind of hanging out.
Right there.
Yeah. I mean,
it's an odd, I don't think they know what the call is. You see
it's man free, right? We think it's man free.
I think so, but in a sense, you get two guys floating here, or this is probably our low hole player, Roquan, if that's the call.
And he's just pushing where Tua looks, right?
Right. That's right. He's reading the quarterback's intention here. You see, this is wild to me to see these two chasing. He's got a 4-yard head start on
he's
Wiggins,
way behind. Wiggins.
And 12. And this guy's just, what an odd little route here. If the quarterback would have taken his time a little further, I don't know why. These two are really congested, but nobody's really covering this guy at all.
Yeah, I'd really just say it's mesh. I mean, it looks like mesh to me. The running back goes out into the flats and runs the wheel, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I love that rewind button. That rewind button there kind of it's a little irregular, but it looks like it almost skips frames. The slow forward one is smoother, I think.
Mm-hmm. So there's, obviously they don't know I don't remember if the Dolphins hurried to the line here, but
I think so.
Prepared. They're not prepared. And he, obviously fools the quarterback on some level here, but needs to catch this football. But so to me, this is like a microcosm type look. It's something that looks good. Roquan making a play, step in front of the quarterback, reading the quarterback, but there's all kinds of messy stuff on this.
I think it's man free, and Hamilton and Marlon and Wiggins, correct me if I'm wrong, they're at the top of the screen together, right?
This is Marlon. This is Wiggins down here chasing.
Yeah.
And this is Starks up top.
Yeah. So we're in our nickel look, and both of our outside corners on this snap are on the same side. I call it cowboy, but other people have different names for, both outside corners on the same side. And then Hamilton is it's 11 personnel, we think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're not able to get on the same page, probably because two things happen at once is my guess. It's man free, so our matchups are declared by game plan, as in Kyle, you have this guy, Marlon, you have this guy, Wiggins, you have that guy. And so then there's 3 into the boundary as well. The running back, there's a tight end down there, I believe, and is that Achan, who's right set here up as the outside receiver, but we know positionally he's a running back, right?
I believe that is him. Yeah, 28.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because of the coverage we called and the formation / personnel that they displayed made it difficult. But that seems like something that we shouldn't mess up to me.
Yeah. I'm seeing stuff.
Not at this level.
Like motions to an empty set that where you'll see just utter confusion in this game. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of great plays that I'm missing or not highlighting, but just this kind of thing right here showed up over and over to me.
And Roquan dropped. Can you run it to where Roquan he drops it? And the amazing thing, disappointing thing is that he's played quite well in the last 2 weeks, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's taking
especially in
risks.
coverage.
Yep.
You know, so that right there for Roquan is an opportunity to make a play that statistically proves the quality of coverage that he's been providing. I actually, on the play that I'll show here in a minute, kind of illustrates the quality of coverage he's played. I didn't think Wiggins. Do you have a sense about individual players or no? Because if not, I don't mind going this solo. I thought Wiggins played the most disconnected game that I've seen him play in 2025, and I don't know why. Maybe it was the Waddle matchup.
Mm-hmm.
No idea. But it just didn't, to me, seem like, and you even mentioned it, I think when we talked about it beforehand, up at the top, we've got those stack wide receivers. It's kind of like, why aren't we just banjoing that or switching it?
Yeah.
The outside guy, take the outside guy, the inside guy, take the inside guy. Essentially what I sometimes refer to as funnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why don't we see Kyle run with this drag and Wiggins take I guess that's a tight end. I don't know.
Yeah, that guy's wide. Wiggins is beat by 4 or 5 yards.
Sure.
That's where the ball's going, right? That's the guy that Tua's throwing the ball to.
Yep. Got some space to hit here. This guy, if this is a neater route package, is open with no one covering him.
Middle of the field. You mean the tight end in the middle of the field?
Yeah.
Yeah, mesh. I would just say it's mesh, and he sits high in the middle of the field, usually in between the hashes, but the ball is, since the ball's on the right hash, basically middle of the field is now, the right hash. So I think that's kind of where he ends up sitting.
Quarterback may not pick up that it's Buchanan running with the back. He may think Roquan's farther over here.
Yeah, they both pushed. Maybe Roquan pushes to the boundary for 2 reasons. One of those reasons, or both. A, the running back released to the boundary, and B, that's where Tua looked as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think usually the quarterback is looking to make sure, okay, is that rail or wheel, whatever people want to call it, is it being covered? Because if it's not covered, I just throw it out there right now.
Yeah. I
think they've got us in the coverage they want us in, which is man free.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one. I mean, and look, I'm okay. Feeling some level of excitement and or positivity about the defense, but we do have moments like that kind of take it all away or at least subtract from that. So, all right, I'm going to talk about Roquan a little bit, but also what I've been referring to as our new dime look. This is a 3rd and 10 on the 5th possession. We're up. It's in the second quarter. So we're going to end up playing man with Roquan on Achane. And the reason why that kind of works out, and I think Miami's trying to manipulate something like that, is they've motioned this tight end out because they're getting Hamilton man-to-man. This is what I refer to for the Lions as 3+1 and a cover 2 man with 2 high safeties. But we're not exactly running a spy here. So I'm not calling it a spy by technique by any of our guys, but it's the same setup. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't start using this until the Chicago game. And what I mean is when I say using this man across the board, and then, when I say 2 man, each iteration of this is not 2 man. Okay. Sometimes one safety is predetermined dropping down and one safety is hanging out high on one half of the field. My point in calling it or referring to it as 2 man almost ubiquitously is it's a 2 man setup. Mm-hmm. We could play trail man, which is a fantastic coverage to play on 3rd downs, in my opinion, where the DBs end up kind of, behind and underneath of the receivers with funneling things to the safety over the top. We've never really played that, but I'm using that to make my point. We've never played this either up to the Chicago game. We haven't played this setup with this personnel on the field. When I say this personnel, I'm talking about usually there's Van Noy, Simpson, Roquan, and Hamilton. And then to get this done from a personnel standpoint, we usually bring on a Awuzie. So basically dime, know. But I'm referring to it as I don't want to say new dime. I think it's dime version 1.2 or 1.1 because we've got 1 defensive tackle and we've got 3 2 OLBs on the field, and then Simpson is the 4th rusher. Okay, I know Simpson positionally is an inside linebacker, but we don't have 4 down linemen on the field and 2 inside linebackers, which is your typical nickel grouping. It's a really nice job by Roquan, if you ask me, of funneling Achane into the boundary. Roquan's not going to get any help. For me, Roquan on this play is what they ask Jack Campbell to do in Detroit on their cover 2-man iterations. And I'm actually going to show one here in a moment that Ravens fans should be super familiar with. It'll just take me a second to get there. I didn't want to have to fast forward in everybody's eyes to see that. So in order to properly understand the point that I'm trying to make, I'm going to have to use this film, which I don't want to trigger Ravens fans because we, of course, lost this game in week 3. But from a structural standpoint, this is the same setup pre-snap. And I think we got it from the Lions. Now, maybe my brain thinks that because I watch so many Ravens games and I watch so many Lions games and I watch the film. So maybe that's my own projection of what the Ravens are doing. But it's a man setup by everyone. That's what the arrows illustrate. It's different formation, right? For the Dolphins, that tight end, remember, he moved all the way down here and Kyle Hamilton followed him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same setup. 2 safeties, structure, man underneath. Now, the difference is the Lions did utilize the spy. So on the previous play, we didn't rush 3. That's why I refer to it. It's one of the reasons why I really refer to it as, 3+1. And we know how it worked out. They oftentimes funneled Lamar into the spy. We have that option against a mobile, athletic quarterback. Tua is not that guy, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm bringing this up as the first play that I'm showing is we're facing an athletic quarterback on Sunday, J.J. McCarthy. He is athletic. We may see this version of our new dime, meaning man underneath, 2 high safety structure, maybe one guy rolling down, or maybe they're just matching routes. Whatever they're doing post-snap, I kind of don't care. What I do care about is our ability to minimize athletic quarterbacks with this style of play. It's a very different thing that Kelvin Shepard, the defensive coordinator for the Lions, has done. And I've seen 2 other teams actually copy it in the last month. Mm-hmm. I suspect, this is my opinion, teams have seen what the Lions are doing and saying, wow, the math really works there for them, number 1. Number 2, it helps out the underneath man defenders because they've got a little bit more help. It's not typical man free like the play that you showed, So I actually really like this dime look until someone exploits it. Yeah. Do you share the same type of I have a deep appreciation for what they're doing because it's a different style of play on 3rd down. Most of the time, everybody puts their 4 rushers there, and they rush their 4, whether it's a stunt, pick, whatever, and then they play coverage with 7. Here, that 4th rusher, he can be a little bit of a rusher, and he can be a little bit of a dropper or a spy. There's almost kind of like 11 and a half players on the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I saw us run that versus Dolphins. I have to find play. I thought we ran it down near the red zone. I don't remember down in distance.
Yes,
but rush 3. Drop a spy kind of thing.
Simpson or Van Noy is usually the spy. Absolutely.
I think it was Simpson. I think on the play you just showed, there was an example. I could be wrong because it went by quickly, of that dog or that trail technique to the 2 on the seam, route to the top of the screen. I think that Detroit ran that. But.
All right. Did you want to go over the 4th and 11 call where we're in dime?
Yeah.
We like to go over stuff that's nickel and dime and kind of try to give people an appreciation for the differences between them. It basically means moving Kyle Hamilton from one position to the other. He's the guy that really is the leadoff hitter for all of our movement from one look to the other.
Right. Here's Kyle up top, or at
4th
the
and
line
11?
of scrimmage, rather. Let's see. Let me get that off of there. All right. So this is just another indication here, or another example, rather. 4th and 11 personnel. Twins look. Really a lot of attention to Waddle to this side. Kind of looks pre-snap like you're going to run quarter, quarter, half, and maybe that
Mm-hmm.
ultimately that's what it ends up being. But you do see this almost backside poach by Starks being played. You see a collision or a reroute by Humphrey off the ball. They're running,
Yeah, you called it like a quarter, half, right?
yeah,
Cover
quarter,
six.
quarter, half kind of look. Yep, to me. It's the problem here is with Humphrey. I do think this is kind of concerning. Just moving forward against better teams if we're fortunate enough to get into the
The
playoffs.
playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, right. You're going to see this. We'll talk about Wiggins too, but really Humphrey has no business, I don't think, at this point, kind of driving on the tight end who's chipped and or helped, and then it's coming out. You'll see that. You'll
Let
see
him
him
throw
right
it.
here,
Right.
kind of
Right.
drive down instead of widen and get some depth. Also, Wiggins, to my mind, and he may have, I'm sure he does, I think we've looked at this before, very good eyes in that he can kind of see two things at once, read the quarterback, feel a route. But really, I think he's late helping over the top here.
They complete it down to the bottom, right?
Yeah. I mean, you cannot give up a 4th down and 11. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
And you certainly can't. I don't know why Humphrey is so concerned. He's going to have ample time if this ball is delivered underneath.
Yeah. He's very hungry. I think Marlon is very hungry at times.
Mm-hmm.
I always use, single, double. Does he catch it and get out of bounds here? Because is this the one that's late in the quarter, or?
I don't remember.
Where does Tua look? Do you have the end zone?
Should have it. Yep. Okay.
I wonder where he looks, and that to me, Marlon seems to be a guy that's
middle.
oftentimes looking.
He's got middle of the field.
Any collisions? 2, right? Or 1?
1. He collisions 1.
I like it.
So I think he wanted 6 here initially, or he was looking that way at least. A lot of time, right? Good time in the pocket. I'm not sure if we can see what Humphrey's seeing here or thinking.
Right. Yeah, the camera's kind of in the way.
Yeah. A lot of
too
space.
easy on a 4th and 11. Way too easy.
A lot of space here, for Wiggins on 4th down and 11. I know he doesn't want to get burned long, but
granted, I understand it's a throw, way outside the bottom of the number. So you're talking about the outer. If you were to cut the field in sevenths, the outer 7th of the field. So Marlon's not going to, be there to, pick that off or whatever, but he could be in the window. He could have more depth such that Tua doesn't have that kind of layered throw as easily accessible to him. I think that's kind of what we're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. You'd want him under that, right? If nothing else, to make it difficult.
I love the collision. I have to say, I do love the collision.
Yeah,
and that should help Wiggins out now. Wiggins, you're not getting anything inside here, so I'm just. Again, I've said this a couple of times in videos. I don't think Wiggins played well on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. You can see where his helmet is here too, but he can feel this route. But to me, that's a lot of attention to the quarterback and not to the sticks here.
Yep.
That's what it looks like anyway.
100%. And he's been playing well. I think he's been playing well. This Thursday night was, to me, his worst that I've seen in 2025, and one that ultimately I think kind of disappointed me. I'm going to show one that also for me is a little disappointing as far as our alignment, but it's a really cool play, and have to give credit to Miami, for that. It's a 2nd and 6. This is Gilman's forced fumble, by the way. He's Gilman's, down here. So he's rolled up into the box. I call this sky. We've got the safety in the box, and the corner is off now instead of, maybe being lined up here. Normally your corner against a tight end nobody would be, somewhere up here, and your safety's feet would essentially be where Marlon Humphrey's feet are. We've just basically inverted them. I call it sky, or, whatever people want to call it. Mm-hmm. In any case, it's a really nasty play. I think it's just basically the modern triple option in some ways. You've got running back crossing the quarterback's face. So if we accept that there's some type of read here, and he could give this football, they're not really getting downfield as far as the offensive line at all. So I'm aware that, it may not be an actual triple option, but there is what looks to be like a read between Tua and the running back. I don't think Tua's really putting the ball in his gut completely with the option to possibly keep it. You've got the tight end attached to essentially make it look like an RPO, basically a replace. And then the motion man came all the way across. I just don't like the fact that we haven't expanded here at all with Gilman. There's no recognition by Gilman or Marlin. Look at both of them. I mean, you're 100% locked in on the quarterback the whole time. I don't think they're getting a run-pass read here. I don't think these guys are seeing, and keen on the lineman, trying to read, run, or pass. I could be wrong. All I do know is someone's got to match that width. We can't just not cover the guy at all. I really love that Green collisions the guy coming across. And I would say this is the possibly third element of it. I don't really think that they're looking to give this football in this particular play, but certainly they have ones where they could. So we got, option one where the ball's completed, or maybe it goes one here and then two there. And if both of those guys were covered, then I think Achane running out into the flats would become number 3. And this is why I just kind of refer to it as modern triple option, but just out of the pass game.
Is the quarterback reading 12?
Yeah, could absolutely be. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's probably just reading the window here between this route one. Let's say Teddy goes here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Violently comes downhill, and then Gilman does what we expect that a strong safety rolled up would do and get some width. Then I think he's probably going to go here. Is that what you mean?
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a really cool play. Again, we usually just refer to it as triple option in the pass game, and then we get Gilman with this beautiful strip. Buchanan was there for both of the forced fumbles as part of the tackle. That was a great moment. I think we're down 3-0 here. Yeah, we're down 3-0. First possession, we went 3 and out. I think Lamar had Bateman open on a little speed out, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and throws it low for whatever reason. So this was a cool moment to get the ball back to our offense, and we still, I think we still took us till 4th down till we actually scored here, right?
Right. Yep.
So for anyone who's unfamiliar with terminology and stuff, this is our nickel look 4-2 with just our left side safety Gilman rolled up. The nickel here is Hamilton, who's set to the field because the ball is on the right hash for the offense. That's typically what you'll see in 95% plus of the iterations of nickel defenses. You're going to see the nickel set to the field. We happen to already have rolled up Gilman, so we've basically created a one high safety look with Starks in center field. I like the play from a Dolphins perspective, making it look like option and maybe giving Gilman and Buchanan something to think about as far as the read. We're very fortunate there to get the forced fumble, in my opinion. I think the Dolphins had that set up. I think they had that available to them, that play concept, at least 2 other times just in the first half. And so when EA and I say that we share, some level of trepidation or whatever about how we played, that's why. Because there's openings available to this Dolphins team. They weren't able to consistently execute, or here they actually did, but we were just fortunate to get a fumble.
I thought one of the things I liked, and I don't have this play from Miami, is they tilt the alignment of their wing, the way they use their wing. A lot of the time they'll tilt him so he can go inside. He could, very interesting, from the standpoint of reading what he blocks or how he might block,
right,
or who he might block. I thought
like an old school wing T wing, Yeah, I like it. And we do a little bit of that sometimes, but I think ours is more Andrews and Likely if they're going to fake the pin down block on our pin pull pitch play,
Mm-hmm.
Did you have another one? I think we got the fire zone.
This is the fire zone.
Mike Green. Okay, let me load that up. This is a 3rd down, right?
3rd and 7. So there's going to be different coverage rules versus a 3 receiver side, compared to a 2-by-2, let's say,
Right.
or a 2 receiver side. This defender, Marlon, in this case, has to account for the number 2 receiver. Typically, let's say if we had a 2 receiver side, we'd have a curl flat guy, one middle hook, and another curl flat guy. But here against a 3 receiver side, he's got to account in man for number 2. I've seen some people kind of pass a fast 3 off to Marlon, but that's not what they're doing here.
Right.
They're going to drop Mike Green. This is another example, I think, of either Mike not matching 3 when he should, or the call not being correct against this. You can see a double A gap blitz. We'll look at it from the other side. We saw that last week as a B gap blitz, but both blitzers coming after the running back. What ends up happening is the quarterback, he's able to hit the tight end, because we'll see
Quickly.
Mike. Yeah, after Mike collisions him, gets his eyes around as sort of the middle hook player. So I don't know, right? Safety's got the post or the over or the seam by number 2 or number 3. Roquan's got a match number 2. That is, in this case, the
2
back.
inside, yeah.
Yeah. He's also going to be looking for anything crossing from the strong side.
It's a quick completion to the tight end for a first down, right?
Very quick. And yeah, so you would imagine that would be easy to clamp down on if you've got the call right. Here's Mike, so we don't know whether he's doing what he's asked to do here, or if he's just not familiar enough with what's being run, what he's been asked to do, whether he's
easy
match
That's
here.
easy. Yeah, that's easy for Tua and the Dolphins. Yeah, Marlon's got it. Basically, Marlon's like, we used to say hot 2, to his side. So if 2 runs a flat route now, Marlon's got to take that. There's nobody else out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Roquan, same thing on the other side. So for me, if it's trips, kind of to your point, you've said this 2 or 3 times in the last month, that we don't play trips as efficiently as perhaps we do other formations. How quickly does he get rid of? How quickly does he get this ball out?
Let's watch it. I'm just going to run it full speed.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
I mean, gone. Yeah, gone.
Pretty quick. And they're on him. If Mike's just a step to his left,
he can defend.
Or rides this guy just a little bit further, that's going to be a hit on the quarterback.
Yeah, we're just, it's kind of like what we talked about early in 2024 many times. We're just so heavy on the quarterback that, we end up, I almost want to say, like, we end up either being very easily manipulated, or we end up, just allowing ourselves to give up quick completions because we're just staring at the quarterback the whole time. I get it. You do have to look at the quarterback, but man, with trips and Marlon's got a match too, you got to be a little heavier on 3. We used to want to stay. We would tell the guy, you're talking about younger guys who don't get as much time as NFL players, and we're not as good at coaches, obviously. We would say, we want you square with that tight end, but you can't let him cross your face. And that's where the conflict comes in. It's really tough to say that. We want you square with him, but we don't want you to let him cross your face. Well, at some point he's going to cross the guy's face, and then the kid's going to try to adjust and, play it a little better next time. But you remember earlier in the season, can you get the end zone angle again and then pause it, where Green is inside leverage, and as soon as Green looks back at the quarterback, right there, yeah. Remember, I want to say it was the Browns, maybe. Or maybe it was the Bills, excuse me. He dropped out to trips. You and I actually talked about it on this show. Mm-hmm. But he opened the wrong way. He was looking the wrong way, and similar situation. Josh Allen completed it quickly. And now here we are, the next week he fixed it. He dropped out correctly, at least in terms of the side that he turned to. But this is now the 3rd time this season where we've seen a completion out of trips against a fire zone with Green dropping out. I wonder the way the Ravens look at the data. How do they look at the data? Okay, so if we get trips and we're in a fire zone and Mike is to number 3, if teams are 3 for 3 and then 4 for 4, 5 for 5. How far do we have to go in seeing this before we say, hey, we got to adjust out of this and have someone else do that drop, because we're just not getting any production. We're not getting any connection from Mike to 3. I don't know. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, unless this is the call. I mean, if this is the call for him just to be a classic kind of mid-hook player against that 3 receiver side, I think that's a problem.
Yep.
In other words, I don't know what they're telling him to do here. I guess we can assume that he's a rookie and he's not matching, but
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's good that we're discussing it. Number one, number two, he's a rookie who's playing well, in my opinion, the last 2 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the same level of aggression at times against the Rams with him, but the Bears and the Dolphins, I think we got some moments, especially him against the Dolphins stunting inside. Man, he 3 times in the first 3 quarters, he just jumps to the inside, and he's got a wide open B gap because the tackle's not used to that. Green presents everything so far this year has been topside moves. So I think he's playing better. That to me is clearly not his relative strength, right?
Mm-hmm. Coach, can I show one more play here? Is it possible? Can you pull it? I've got it sharing. I don't know if you can pull it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just think it's another. We end up getting. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we end up getting another.
Are we dropping out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get another 3 receiver side, but to me it's all kind of set up by this motion. This guy coming across.
Yep.
Just the idea of communication here. Roquan's really what we want to watch, but you can see Starks kind of pointing at that side. You can see 12 doing the same. Very interesting, with this motion, we see Roquan kind of slide to that side. We get Wiggins out. This is a running back. We get Wiggins out on the running back wide. Communication there.
And we get Achane runs underneath, and the tight end is open up the left side, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. That's what happens is they don't have an accounting for number 3 here. This is interesting too. This look right here that we see, Starks kind of hears him. We don't see Roquan, but you'll see kind of like this nodding right there. Yeah. And he's going to get wider. They end up playing what I consider 2 read to this side. And I think what we see here out of Roquan is him telling Buchanan to get inside of 3. That's what I think he's telling him here. He doesn't. You can see, let's see, from the other side, right there's that same point. They're just trying to figure out what to do with 3. Now that it's a 3 receiver side, it's not the same call. 2 read to the top is how I look at this.
Yeah, I like the collision by Hamilton at the top, but the problem is Wiggins is so far underneath here, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I think probably the initial call when it was a 2x2, let's say, was some kind of cover 2.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that would have been fine. That would have been fine there, right? But now we got 3. Yep.
It's another, if we're looking at this side, in terms of the position of the safety, neither he nor Teddy get a feel for what is being communicated on the number 3 receiver as I see it, which is to say, normally I think what Roquan wants is Teddy inside getting hands on 3, and we want the safety over top of 3. But you can see by the alignment of the safety here, he's sticking with the old coverage. He's sort of splitting right here, kind of the field, instead of being – I mean, that's just a big, big problem. Now Wiggins does pass off this route. So I think he knows the call. I think he knows the call. I think his job is to now get under and kind of almost become a deep or a third player.
If you have the flat, you have the wheel. That's our rule. And if it's cover 2-ish down here, and he's getting it's not really a wheel necessarily. It's kind of a fade, if you will, for up the sideline. But I think he's I just think he's slow here. I just think he's slow. I think Wiggins looks slow all game, and I know I'm sounding harsh on Wiggins. I like him a lot, but this is caught, right? But it's out of bounds.
A little bit out of bounds. Yeah, nice little throw. But yeah, this is just a problem up here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Might have been one other thing on this play that bugged me.
Yeah, it's essentially a wheel fade, almost. It's not thrown up the sideline to lead the tight end. I think Tua is intentionally throwing this at the sideline to such that, the tight end can catch it and no safety is going to be able to get over, as opposed to leading him up the sideline, like, leading him up towards the safety, bringing the safety in play post snap or post catch or just at the catch. I think Wiggins is just slow. I just think he's slow here. As one releases under, like, what are you covering here? I don't know. Maybe everybody has a different opinion than me, but I just not happy with his play in that game. I don't pretend to know what the Ravens graded him at. Don't care what PFF graded him at. But
you can see him hesitate.
He's slow.
You can see him not hesitate, but kind of stop his feet.
It's right in front of your face. I mean, the guy's crossing your face.
Yeah.
And he's running a wheel. You know that it's cover two. Like, you got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least create a margin for error, for our defense, which they were still there.
Mm-hmm.
Tua had to get that throw in a certain window, a certain box, outside of the safety's ability to react or the safety's range. Yeah, that one's a good play from Miami's perspective. They're obviously not a good football team at the NFL level, but offensively, they had some things they were trying to get accomplished that I think we both agree were there.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for letting me throw that one at you.
Yeah, that was fun. All of them are. I wish we could share 20 plays.
Mm-hmm.
I do have, trying to do one more. I'm not conversant with this system sometimes. This is going to be Stark's first interception, and it's a fun one because of his agility, and his footwork shows here. The ball skills, clearly. Pre-snap, there's communication between him, and once again, we've rolled Gilman up. This is the same look as the forced fumble by Gilman that we showed earlier, right? Gilman's walked up, and then there's the corner, Wiggins, kind of stacked back. So, we would call it sky, but it ends up being a hybrid Tampa 2. So it's really cool the way that the Ravens play this. Essentially, if you allow yourself to think of Gilman as a corner, he plays the flats. He plays the flat area in a Tampa 2. There's just no receiver to jam. All right. You can see the too high safety delineation between Wiggins, who's obviously a corner, and then Starks. Over here, we've inverted the safety in the corner, like I talked about in the beginning, and that's what allows me to think that, this is a Tampa 2 or a Tampa 2-ish. Again, you've got Hamilton, prepared to run in the middle of the field, but this receiver looks like he's trying to cross his face. So Hamilton kind of stops his feet and allows that to flow back through to Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you've just got an example here of Wiggins, who is a corner, functionally playing safety on that particular snap. I know we're zoomed out pretty far, but it's a really nice play by Starks to elevate and go get the football. I said this on my channel a couple of times. It's the first game where I felt like you saw the combination of skills from Starks, the athletic ability, coverage, tackles. Man, 2 of his tackles on Achane were spectacular in this game. I think this is Starks' best game yet, and it's typical of this Ravens defense in 2025, right? You get Starks playing possibly his best game or one of his best. I may be, incapable of recalling another one right now. And at the same time, Wiggins is on the other end of the spectrum, at least in my opinion.
I think it's a good indication of what we might expect when you're up 28-6 out of our defense. They can take chances, they can throw disguises, they can get people desperate from the offensive side of the football, and you're going to see turnovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, really a really nice job, and it really highlights his athleticism going up and getting this football. Does he kind of go over top of the wideout to get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's to me at this point, Tua doesn't throw this pass in the first quarter, in
No.
my opinion. I think he throws this pass because of the game situation and where they are. I don't want to say carelessly, but I don't think he's going to take that shot, take that chance, if you will, if it's in the first quarter of a 0-0 game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I love this aspect of the game. I think we see this showing up a little bit more. What percent more? I'd say maybe 10 to 12, meaning collisioning guys. You and I have talked about it. I think this is now the third time just today. This collision aspect of a receiver. You don't hit a home run here, probably just really a single, I think. But pushing that guy in between zones, and I think that makes it a little easier on Kyle because this receiver's not on top of him as much because of the jam, because of at least the redirect or reroute. I like this coverage. All the time. We're going to see this. We're going to see this from Minnesota, this hybrid, inverted Tampa 2. I think Flores, he's got a lot of coverages in his scheme. I think one of the ones that he likes the most is Tampa 2 because he plays so many different variations of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's I don't want to say scary game for me, but it's definitely one that I have some concern and some anxiety over. Have you been able to watch any of the Vikings game against the Lions last week?
Not yet.
Yeah, of course I did. I watched it live, and I've watched the film at this point twice through.
Mm-hmm.
They played with, sometimes it looked like the Vikings had 12 people on the field. On defense, just fast, physical, very smart. If you've got a weakness in pass pro, Brian Flores is going to have a scheme to try to attack it. So I'm very interested to see what he comes up with this week on 3rd and 6. What's he going to show? And because to me, that reveals to us as Ravens fans what other NFL coaches think of our players, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on our defense comparing the statistics of 39 points allowed in the last 3 games compared to some of the slight miscues or things we'd like to see improve that you and I talked about today?
Yeah. I think we're improving a lot. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this. In terms of the run defense, that helps a lot. I think we're getting healthy on the offense. That's going to help the defense a lot. Hopefully they're going to get more comfortable with some of these calls. I still kind of worry about that, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can discount the fact that they're giving up 6 points last week, and 12 points a game or something. Whatever the stat is, 13 points a game, something like that.
I think after last week's game against the Bears, I think we used the phrase cautious optimism, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it was 2 games in a row. However, there's clearly plays that Chicago left out there. And then they go to Cincinnati and score 47 points. Caleb Wiggins, those amazing throw that he made, to win the game to Colston Loveland, the rookie. I do have something I want to share that I think kind of supports or augments the points per game allowed. And I hope that this shows up for you guys. I don't know if I want to make this that much bigger. Give me 1 second. That seems to lose some of the columns, but I'll just scroll over. So this is a Tor metric that I was able to create with a couple of guys in the Lions Discord. They were a huge help. Ty basically took all the data columns that I was trying to create and put them into this website /app. And what it does is it gives a 0 to 100 score for your offense and then a 0 to 100 score for your defense. And each of those is represented. Let me scroll down. My apologies for the presentation, but here's the ones for our offense. That's TOR. It's total offense efficiency rating. Sounds kind of crazy, but I was looking for a metric that was a little bit less wordy. Couldn't find one. In any case, look at the 2 games Lamar didn't play at all. Hopefully, can you see that okay, or you need me to make it larger?
Yeah.
I'll go one larger. Let's go back over. So the 2 games Lamar didn't play. Again, this column is the total for our offense from a 0 to 100 score. Basically anything above like 65, 66 score means that you're going to win about 70% of your games. So 70% of the games that are above a 65, 66, you're winning. Unless the other team can't be stopped either. Like, for example, the Bears and the Bengals, right? 47, 42. But look at the two games Lamar didn't play, 31 and 26. If you were to only do the games Lamar's played in, those 4 and those 2, then our season-long average, this 56, would probably be in the 67, 68 range. I haven't done the math, but someone watching is more than welcome to do that. Hopefully all this makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what I find interesting from the standpoint of what EA and I are doing is this column. This is the tour allowed each game. Again, 0 to 100 score each week, and then averaged out for us so far this year is a 62. Not good. Not good at all. All right. Really not good. You have some teams out there that are in the sub 40 range. The Houston Texans, the Detroit Lions, they're in Seattle Seahawks, excuse me, are sub 40. The Detroit Lions, I think, are at 44, but I haven't looked at it yet this week for the Lions. It's really easy to change the team, and a beautiful, beautiful app and nice piece of code. So in any case, look at what we had before we moved Kyle Hamilton to nickel and acquired Alohi Gilman.
Brutal.
And then after.
Yeah.
So points per game allowed and this metric are kind of lining up here that we're playing a better brand of defense in the last 3 games. How that works for the Minnesota Vikings, I don't know. I will say this. The same offense, this is the Detroit Lions, this 100 score here, by the way. That's their offense against our defense. The same offense that just got, really wiped out in the first half by the Vikings defense, came to Baltimore in week 3 and put up a 100 tour score on us. I think that's also an illustration of how different we are structurally with Hamilton at the nickel.
Very interesting. Very interesting to me, Coach.
It was not fun to put together for me. It was.
Looks like it took some time.
Yeah, the individual columns, red zone touchdown percentage, points per drive, first down, success rate. It actually goes over a little bit further. I'm zoomed in so the viewers can actually see it, but it separates it by game, turnovers, pass completion percentage, rush yards per carry, sacks. All of those are 0 to 10 columns, essentially. 0 to 10 point value, excuse me. And then you get to the end, and the app does it for you. I sat and manually calculated stuff in the off season. I think I may have texted you some about it. I manually calculated some of it in the off season, and it was a pain. And I thought, how am I going to do this every week? There's just no way. And then this guy in the Lions Discord does it for me. Basically creates an app. It was truly amazing. If I ever got to the point where I could, financially compensate him, obviously I would, because it was a huge blessing for me. So I guess what I'm saying is, while you and I both have some hesitation to stamp this defense as radically different, there's a lot of markers here that it is. And we can't refute that. However, there are some things that I think we both see or have noticed, slight coverage improvements that need to be made, or maybe even, shed away altogether. Maybe Mike Green dropping against trips in a fire zone isn't the best call. Kyle Van Noy would be a guy who could do that. Yeah. Simpson would be a guy who I think would be quality in that role. They both would be superior to Green just because, Green's a rookie, number one. Number two, we didn't draft him in the second round to drop out in pass coverage, but we're doing it a lot. Any final thoughts on this one, or anything moving into the Vikings game? Are you one of those people who's worried about another Brian Flores defense? Because, he was the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins in 2021 when they did the blitz, stick split zero 37 times on us in one night.
That doesn't concern me. I think it's a different Lamar, different head coach, or a different coordinator.
Agreed.
Right? We didn't have a Monken at that point. Yeah. That doesn't concern me. I think Lamar's good there.
Yep.
He concerns me. Flores concerns me generally. But that particular element, I think just having an optimistic view moving forward in terms of the defenses, that they're moving in the right direction, and just kind of keep the faith that it'll start graduating level to level to level as we go. and hope that something turns to the pass rush side a little bit more. Maybe some of these new guys. There's some interesting things, and we don't talk about pass rush, but I think there's and I can't put my finger on it, but I think there's a misuse of Mike Green in one area, specifically these stunts that they're running to get Travis Jones outside. They keep doing that, and maybe Mike's not doing a good enough job to win inside, but I don't know. I'd rather have Mike winning the edge,
Right.
just never mind all that Travis trying to get outside. But that's neither here nor there.
I want to see Mike Green gets what I think are some two-way goes. Early in the season, in my opinion, his rushes were hard-coded, meaning you can rush to the outside. Whatever move you want to use that's a top-side rush, go ahead and use it. But you may not spin to the inside. You may not jump to the inside. You're whatever. To me, there was an inordinate percentage of outside rushes by Green early in the season, and I'd like to see that be more of a two-way go. And the only way that I can explain it, excuse me, sorry for that, is watching the Draymond Jones film. I mean, he's free to rush. I have no idea why my camera's doing that. My apologies for that. Draymond Jones is free to rush in Tennessee. He's going inside. He's going outside. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? This is a different game. We don't play this game, So in any case, I am optimistic about this game against the Vikings. But we have to, A, stop or slow down their run game, and B, it is an absolute must that we have to generate some type of run game by our offense. We cannot get in 20 different second and 8, 3rd and 6 situations against Brian Flores. He's too good at attacking pass pro, and that deep some of the stuff they do is shocking. Maybe I'll explain it to you some other time, but some of the things they're doing when they line up in their mug looks is just radically different from the rest of the league, in my opinion. They're not, how normally like a mug look, even when we do it, people drop out at a certain time, post snap. Some people rush, some people drop out. He does this kind of like staggered release or dropping out. So they'll all mug up, and then like 3 seconds before the snap, an inside linebacker will drop out. And then 1 second before the ball is snapped, a safety like turns his back and runs to center field. And the theory that I have, which I'll never be able to prove, is that he did that to Jared Goff this past week. I hadn't seen it much before the Lions game. I think he did that to Goff to actually show Goff intentionally in the final second or two before the snap, you don't know what's coming. Meaning, we're doing something that you don't know what it is, and I actually want to show you that you don't know. Because Goff is supreme. He's elite at pre-snap to post-snap transition. Okay, some quarterbacks read. I think Goff confirms. And what I mean is pre-snap, he knows the coverage. Post-snap, I'm confirming, bang. And Brian Flores interrupted that flow. I think he interrupted Goff's mental processing, but not just post-snap. I mean, the pre-snap to post-snap transition. And, I can't prove it, but it was like the 4th or 5th time they did it. I think I understand why he's doing this.
So he shows them a look. 3 seconds before the ball's out, it's a different look. And then another look.
And then another look just intentionally timed just before now the game was in Detroit, so you weren't getting the center or the guard touching the center, so you knew that the ball was going to be snapped. So my theory could be crushed with that. Hey, how do you know that we're going to snap the ball? Well, the play clock could be running down. Number one. Number two, the motion could be running over. They're very well trained, and in my opinion, the Vikings defense operates like a musician. You can probably pick up this analogy here in a moment and run with it if you want. They're operating at a different frequency. They're operating at a different time scale. I forget the drummer's name. The drummer for Tool. They play at like a different beat, a different rhythm.
Danny, can't remember his last name. Danny something.
Yeah, and I've watched. I know nothing about music, zero. I'm I'm functionally illiterate there. But I've watched some people break down some of the stuff and explain what he's doing as far as timing differential. And I'm like, there's some math there.
Yeah.
And to me, Brian Flores is like that. He's operating at a different frequency in a way that regular people like me just can't understand. So in any case, sorry for the diattribute, but I wanted to get that out near the end.
Yeah.
And I have some real appreciation for what he's doing over there. Hopefully it doesn't work against us, though.
Yes. Yep. I agree.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. This one went on perhaps a little bit longer than maybe is typical for us, but we have a lot of fun producing it, or at least I do.
Yes,
Quite
sir.
sure that you do as well. And, we look forward to doing another one next week for you guys, hopefully after another road win, this one against the Vikings. Appreciate you guys' time.